René, I thought we were alone.
It sounded like it.
Hi, everybody. I'm sitting here with a guy who knows a thing or two about food. This is René Redzepi, everyone. René was a tiny bit nervous because you're the first people, I think, that you've screened the show for.
Yes.
Is that right? So, did you like it? I like it too. I've seen every episode already. You're in for a treat. If you like that, there's 7 more, and it comes out, in 2 weeks, is it?
19th. It's...
Oh, soon.
Yeah. Friday.
Oh, right. Tell them the other episodes. Bananas.
Bananas is great.
It is
fantastic. That's the one that surprised me the most. Then
Yes.
we have salt.
Yes.
We have...
Coffee.
Coffee. We have pig.
Pig, yes.
What's going on with me right now?
Tuna.
Tuna. Corn.
Corn.
Woo! Rice. Thank you.
What a crowd. It's like we were naming the Beatles. This is a food crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best crowd in the world.
Yes, the people who like to eat are my
People
favorite
like to
people.
eat are the best people.
I agree with you. Yes.
Do you trust people that don't like to eat?
I don't trust people who don't like to eat. I don't want to be their friend. Because that's our social life, right? We go, we eat.
Yeah, but if you don't like to
And
eat,
if you don't
almost
like it,
don't like
life.
life.
That's right. Like, how do you feel about colors then?
Yeah.
Or music?
Anything.
So, first question is, because we just watched this, and the thing that I'm sure you're thinking is, you gave everybody that pepper.
Yeah.
Right before service.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm coming to Noma,
Yeah.
do I want my server coming over like this? Why did you do that? What's wrong with you?
People were prepped for it. People knew something extra was going on.
But
so,
did you tell them we're going to eat the whole thing?
No.
Because I would be like this and then crying.
If it wasn't for the 40-person camera crew
Yeah.
and the whole team looking at me, I probably wouldn't have done it.
It does make you do stupid things.
Yeah,
yes.
it does. The camera does that.
Yes.
The
Because
camera.
it's a TV show.
Yeah. You have to. The whole thing was built up to this moment. And it was very, very brutal. But the thing is, we had some guest that's been with us more than 200 times that night. Yeah. I mean, believe it or not, the first 5-7 years at Noma, almost every lunch there was 0 guests. You could walk in for dinner. And so this particular group of people, they used to come a couple of times a week for lunch. And they said it was the most memorable night at Noma.
Yes, because they went from there to the hospital.
They said it was the most memorable night, and one of them, she's from El Salvador, and she was like, no, I can take this. I'm Latina, So she was like, she took it, and she had like a mild panic attack that lasted for like 4 or 5 minutes, and then the rush came. And then she ended up having one of the best nights of her life.
So is it like when you hit yourself with a hammer, it's so nice when it stops? Is that I don't understand.
No, it's hard.
Because I had a drop once of one of the spiciest things on the earth, an African pepper. And it was in a sauce. And it just felt like a knife in my tongue. There was no flavor. The pain was so great that I couldn't taste anything. Does that pepper have a distinct flavor?
At first you taste pepper flavor, like acidity, and at first you're like, not too bad, I can do this. And then it builds, and then everyone have a little different experience. I mean, to some, they had an incredible burn under the tongue. For others, it was in the throat. For others, it was like the entire sort of first part of your face was like burning. Others, it went immediately to the stomach. And so there was 2 or 3 of the team members who didn't really feel a crazy strong burn.
Did you get a call from them later?
Well, I mean, everyone had 3 o'clock at night, kind of sleep in the bathroom next to the toilet. I had that too. Yeah.
He's really
That was
selling
actually
it, huh?
the worst.
Sounds like we gotta have this pepper. But wouldn't a tiny
We
bit...
thought about serving it here tonight, but we thought, okay,
How many of you would do it? Raise your hand.
Oh, we should have done it. Fuck.
Sick people.
There's plenty of people who would do it.
Yeah. Did you do that more than once?
That evening?
That game?
No.
Oh, that's right. It was the last day of
it was last day of vegetarian season.
Yes.
We just finished lunch service.
Yeah.
And this was dinner service.
Wow.
Yeah.
And most people did it.
There was a few who didn't. I mean, there will always be people who needs everything in control.
Yes.
And when you eat a super hot, the whole room becomes momentarily insane. Like, you lose yourself completely. You don't have control. You can't
Because you're
control
crying
it.
and throwing up.
But you can't control. You keep telling yourself, when is it stopping?
Yes.
Can it build more? And it keeps building
until
it doesn't. And then, for that reason, when some guests, they didn't do it. And I knew the guests. I knew they would never want to do it. Because they need control.
Or just afraid of pain.
Yeah, but isn't that also about control? A little bit.
Yeah.
You control freak? I don't see that.
No, I'm not.
You would do
but I'm not crazy. but also, how did your staff actually function?
It was fun. Honestly, it was fun.
Yeah.
It really was.
All right, I can talk about
because
this.
we have one. His name is Thomas Friebel.
Yeah.
He's worked with us for 16 years in the kitchen.
Yes.
And he was born in East Germany, the old East Germany. Like, we have an episode on banana. He tasted bananas the first time when he was 9 years old. And it was like the whole village came to watch one banana. And he does triathlon, and he's like a machine. And he became a little boy. And that's fun for everyone else to see. This guy that just, no matter what, he can do it. And he was a little puppy. It was fantastic.
Puppy,
I love seeing that.
Yeah. And I'm sure your staff liked to see the boss get...
Yeah. I eat more chili than most. So
You love it. You loved it. Like, you would do that again.
I would do it with you. If we had done it in here, I would have done it. But it has to be special occasion, It's not it's not like you'd sit alone and say, "Oh, I'm going to take a super hot. I'm all by myself."
I don't know.
It's Sunday.
I like the nice, sweet people at the beginning in the village, making the nice paprika.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
I would like that.
Yeah, but those are fantastic as well. But let
Yes.
me tell you, right next to it, they also grow a very hot pepper.
Oh.
Yeah. It's not just sweet peppers they grow in that
Yeah.
region. That's where my family is from.
Yes.
They're not Serbians, but they're Albanians. So I grew
Did
up...
you have that with the peppers drying
everyone
on
has that.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, the curtains
Yeah,
of
I love
dried
that.
peppers. Everyone has that. And then they have a big old sort of a storage space that's like a little suspended from the ground where a corn is drying.
Oh.
Yeah. And there was cows. So I grew up in a way where if somebody wanted milk, you had to go milk a cow. And I remember my aunt churning butter and, cleaning corn, and it was wonderful.
So you grew up knowing, understanding, and appreciating and loving food.
I did, but I didn't know that I did that until I was 15. Up until that point, I just ate. It wasn't anything I considered. I was, you're young.
You didn't think this will be a job one day?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, frankly, at times I was more embarrassed because we lived a life between Denmark and what was back then Yugoslavia.
Uh-huh.
And my family was in Denmark to work. And the way we ate was different to how the Danish families would eat, even though I consider myself a Dane.
You were born in Denmark?
Yeah, I was born in Denmark, but we lived 2 lives. And we always considered ex-Yugoslavia our home.
Okay.
And Denmark was where we sort of supported the family life, which was very rural life. And I was embarrassed about it. And I couldn't see the value of it until I started in cooking school. And on that first week or so at cooking school, I had one of those epiphany moments with roast chicken. And it just, at least it fueled me until now, and I'll be 47 later this year. So it's been very powerful. So it does matter that you eat and what you serve. I have 3 children. Sometimes they don't want to eat anything, but we still keep going because you never know what can influence someone down the line.
How good was that chicken? Like what was
The chicken was so good. It was actually, chicken rice is by far my favorite thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like we find in Asia.
Yeah, but also in Albanian communities you find it. And
how different is it from what I've had in?
They're all a little similar. I think
Right.
it's just how do you season it, you know?
Is yours roasted? Theirs is like
some are boiled, some are roasted and steamed. But in this case, it was roasted.
The
And
best.
it was the best. It was one night. It was. I mean, it's going to sound a little crazy for people who are, 25 years and stuff. But imagine in rural Yugoslavia, a communist country. There's no phones. You go to the post office in the nearest village and you get a number and suddenly the phone rings and that's how you call your relatives. So you didn't communicate with each other.
Yeah.
Electricity was a light switch. There was no refrigerators and so on and so forth. So when people showed up, like relatives, it would be like someone would knock on the big gate and you'd open and it'd be like literally a horse carriage full of relatives. And
That sounds horrible.
that's how it was. It didn't happen every day, but when there was one day it happened. I remember this chicken being slaughtered, and we're running around, me and my cousins, and 2 of them, Nasuf and Recep, they work at Noma today. We ran around. I just remember it so vividly when I was in cooking school at age 15. Us small kids running around after this headless chicken, and my auntie, she plucking the chicken and then roasting in the wood-fired oven, and all the fat and drippings into the rice underneath. And I mean, that energy, that coming in with that tray, the sound of a chicken thigh being torn, the crackling skin, the steam into the room. Yeah, that memory is the reason why I'm sitting here today.
The chicken that changed the world.
Changed me.
And then the world. That's pretty great. I love that you have that specific a memory.
Yeah, and we almost had chicken actually in the series, but we opted for pig instead.
Next season.
Yeah, if you tell all your friends to watch it.
Yes, they will.
So we
They
get
will.
season 2.
I trust them. We need chicken. We need chocolate. I'd like, please.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'd like chocolate. Which one would you like? Mushrooms. Yeah?
Wait till you see the magic mushroom episode. It gives everybody a mushroom before
Because
dinner service.
mushrooms are a big family of ingredients, but we have to choose one. So maybe do the nice ones.
Which is there a dominant mushroom in the world?
I would not know. If anything, it's the button mushroom, which is probably the number 1 most grown mushroom. You see it everywhere around the world. Yeah, I'd say so.
Did you start the series? You saw this is episode 1 of the order. Did you start with Chile's because that's your personal touchstone?
No,
because
we wanted to start with something that was more about love, like a love story. Because some of the other episodes dabble into other issues. There are more stuff going on where we touch on environment and we touch on history. And
the history stuff is so fascinating. I love all of it. But to learn something, how often do you watch anything on TV now and actually learn something?
You don't learn from The Bachelor? I never watched The Bachelor.
I learned what my next job should be. But I love the history stuff so much. And the corn one is particularly fascinating. It takes us into also the industrialization of farming and everything. There's something in there. I don't want to give away too much or talk about something you haven't seen yet, but there are tractors now that, you know how you have the driverless taxis? There are giant, you'll see them, giant tractors that are robots.
Yeah.
So talk about taking jobs away from people.
I mean, we're also in the Yucatan jungle,
Yeah.
in milpas, seeing, thousands of years of tradition of growing corn. But then we see the opposite, and people are literally building pyramids in many, many places in America where it's just corn.
Yeah.
It's not ancient pyramids of stone.
Yeah.
It's the size of pyramids, and there's like hundreds of them.
Right.
Just piles of corn.
All right, so now tell everybody how the show came to be and
So the show is more than 10 years in the making.
yeah.
And it started when Noma was getting known. And I was being offered to do TV quite a bit. I would say for a good 1 to 2 years, I was offered at least one TV opportunity a month. Yeah. All sorts of crazy stuff, like always something with celebrities. Of course, one was called Fire and Ice. I had to go with a celebrity and cook in cold areas, and anyway, it didn't amount to anything.
Did they want you to judge like competition
Yeah,
shows
competitions
and
too.
stuff?
I mean, yeah, they did want me to judge competitions. It was generally in those two genres. So I was also very busy at work. We didn't have systems at Noma at all. This shock of a success really came almost inconvenient to us because were not ready to it for it. Can you imagine that we go from not really being full to 100,000 table requests in 12 hours? Table requests, and these are tables of 2, 4, 8. It was 1 million people maybe.
Was it one review that did that?
Yeah, you could say that. It was when we won #1 the first time. I mean, and I don't want to talk so much about that because I don't believe in being #1. The only person I've known to truly, truly believe that we are #1 is my mother. She really believes it fully and has done from day one.
Oh.
But
It's sad that she can't get in anymore.
Oh. Oh, she has a hotline. Where were we?
How the show came to be.
Oh, yeah. But what it did was that it made me think if we were ever to do a TV show, how would it look like? And then you think deeper, and one of the things that I loved watching when I was a child was Planet Earth.
Yes.
The great nature docs, David Attenborough.
Yes.
His voice, the soothing, calming tone, and this incredible fascination of a person that could lift a tiny leaf in the Amazon, and there was a beetle under it. And it was just so, I loved it.
And give you the life of that beetle, the history of that beetle.
Yeah, and the passion and energy for it.
Yeah.
And so that was the first idea, that how would it look if we could have that scope for food?
Great.
For how we eat, and at the same time also kind of inspire people to realize that food is by far the most important thing we have on earth.
Yeah.
How we eat makes us healthy or unhealthy, and with whom we eat kind of makes us happy or unhappy.
Yeah.
But how we grow our food has huge impact on the world. You can more or less say how we eat is also how healthy the planet is.
Right.
So that was the beginning of it. And then the pandemic came, and then, we have this guy called Ben Liebman at Noma. He's not there right now, but he's in this room. We spoke like, we need to put this together. And then I spoke to Matt Golding, who's a co-creator of the show. He's also sitting in here somewhere. And then we did it.
When you say we did it.
Yeah. Yeah, we did it. There was, of course,
How many years did it take to get it done?
2.5 years.
Right.
2.5 years. And I was stupid. I thought it was like going to be a little longer than developing a menu at Noma, you know. And once it's ready, you serve it next week, or next day.
You probably don't get network notes at Noma.
No, that's definitely also something that was a new thing.
Yeah.
But I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I feel like I've become a better cook from actually doing this.
Because you got inspired by the stories.
The stories, it just made me happier. Actually, made me more hopeful about food. Seeing all these people that you're going to see when you watch it. There are so many amazing people in food. Like, you will see people that have no real economic kind of future. And they just believe in what they do so much. And it's mind-blowing to be around and be inspired by people like that. And for some reason, food is full of them.
Can you talk about this?
Food has the craziest people. It does.
There's a scene in the last episode of the corn episode where you said you had another one of these meals that blew you away.
Yeah.
Talk about that meal. It's so gorgeous in the show.
Yeah.
This is a good example of what's ahead for you.
Yeah. So I have a friend. His name is Roberto Solis. He is a chef in Mérida in Yucatan. And he brings me to Mérida in 2006. No, 2005. And I had no clue about anything Mexican. I mean, we have very poor versions of Tex-Mex in Denmark. At least we had. Now we have Rocio Sanchez, so now we have the real deal. Yeah.
Yes.
It's truly amazing. And so we arrive there. Immediately, he brings us to a tiny village called Yaxuna. And it's funny enough, it reminded me a little bit of my childhood. Very different, but still kind of same energy. But we're there in this little village, and turns out that they're going to cook this pig in the ground for us, the cochinita, and we're watching everything, how they're taking the lime from here, and everything gets organized, marinated, and then we wait for 3-4 hours. The sun sets. There's just one lamp, and they unearth this pig, and it's, again, steaming hot. The whole concussion is red from achiote, this wonderful seed. They squeeze sour orange into it.
Sour orange.
Sour oranges, and they sort of just slightly mix it. None of this pulled pork mixing. Just, it's kind of light. Just like this with your hand, slightly. Just broken up. And then served in a corn tortilla from 7,000-year-old corn that's just been given on from generation to generation. It had literally just puffed on the comal a second before they gave it to me and poured this meat on top, a little bit of habanero on top. And I'm getting chills just thinking of being a young cook, having no idea what Mexican food is. And then you bite into that. And it still stands as one of the greatest meals that I've ever tried. And by the way, I'm not too, I don't know if I should say this, but there is another network. I won't mention what it is because, but this woman that cooked this, Rosalia is her name, there's actually a show on her in a certain barbecue season. Yeah. So you can actually watch her, and she did that, and it was just a mind-blowing moment to me. And ever since I've gone to Mérida and surroundings every year.
Yeah.
So it's become a second home to me.
You love these simple, it almost seems like the simpler it is, the more you love it.
The thing is, this is not simple.
No, but that's pure. It's
pure, and
you're talking about,
they pick the orange like this.
Yeah.
The seeds they took in the afternoon, they're grinding it there. That's real luxury. You can't tell me caviar is better than that, even though that's luxury.
Yeah. No, of course.
I always say caviar is airport food. It is. You can buy it in every airport. Being there is like unbelievable.
It's great.
Yeah, and then to have something it just cooked, poof,
It's
and
so
then you
beautiful.
bite it. There's nothing better, and there's no great fancy restaurant in the world that can ever topple that. There isn't, and I'm in a fancy restaurant business, but
I was going to say, the irony.
I do know this to be true. Most people don't have those truly special moments. Of course, they have very, very special moments, but if they had to really choose kind of last meal, it's that bowl of raspberries when you were a child or something.
The
where it's like,
simplest thing, yeah.
I can't believe this.
Yeah.
Or
Well, if you have the great ingredient, you don't need to do much to it.
yeah, it's also the people and the setting.
Yes.
And who you're with. And
Yes, it all affects your taste.
yeah, and for sure it does. And if you have a negative mindset, I'm sure there's tons of cooks in here. Everyone, or waiters, they know it more than anyone. If people are in a bad mood when they come in, they're probably going to be in a bad mood all night. And, maybe we can change them up a little bit, but
Yeah.
and they probably won't like it so much as they could have
Yeah.
if they were just positive. And that's why at Noma we have this 100-meter long pathway, because we told ourselves we need a portal so people can just forget a little bit
Yeah, as you
and
walk
be
through
there
that
in the
garden.
moment. We always say that it's time and place, and that is the most amazing thing. You're eating the moment, and are you ready to actually take it in, or are you everywhere else? And most people are everywhere else.
So the difference between Planet Earth and your show, and I love that it's a very good description of your show. It's Planet Earth for food.
Yeah, we eat the beetle. They don't.
Exactly. Your show requires, Attenborough doesn't ever need to show a human being in his show, but food is inextricably tied to us,
Yeah.
to people, and the people, I always find, are the best part of the story. How much do you love that Thai couple on their first date when he sees that she eats everything? I think I love her.
But how many people haven't, when they first start dating, and you see that one you really fall in love with, you see them eat, and that's like, wow. It matters so much. I
Well,
know
yeah.
I did that with my wife tremendously.
Well, listen.
Actually, me and my wife,
Yeah.
we've been together 19 years. And she was 19, I was 25, and I was working, I come home late. We moved in together very quick. And then it was in the beginning, and she had cooked a meal for herself. And she was 19, I was like, wow, okay, you just cooked for yourself. And that's, because takeout, she literally said takeout is not good enough. And I don't know, maybe that was kind of seal the deal moment type of thing for me. It was just so beautiful.
Yeah. Do you hear this, Monica? I just love it, and the characters that you'll meet along the way in the series are also, they're just lovely, great, interesting people.
Yeah.
That's the thing about the show. There's not too many interesting things to watch. And interesting is like, I think, the most important thing. It can be interesting dramatically, comedically, but to hold your interest and to actually learn something, I think it's rare and beautiful. And you guys, your whole team that's here, and you did an amazing job.
I'm very, very happy to say that.
Is there something else you want people to know about this particular project?
I mean, when you watch something like this, there's hundreds of people involved. Like, it's mind-blowing how many people are needed to make something work. So I just want to mention that, and of course, need to mention Matt. Can Matt come up and answer
why
one
not?
question here?
Yeah. Where's Matt?
Where's Matt Golding?
Come on up, Matt. Matt is a great writer and producer.
Yeah, Matt Golding. He is not going to talk much about himself, so I'll say a few things.
Hi, Matt.
Hello, Matt.
Hey, guys. Wow.
Matt is American. He lives in Barcelona. He has Roads and Kingdoms, the blog, and he's written many books. You should really try to read some of them.
And he's our valedictorian.
And he also was in partnership with Anthony Bourdain and helped him produce all his shows for the last 4 or 5 years until he passed. And we've been friends for a long time, and we did this together. So, yeah, what should we ask him?
Ask me something. What do you got, Phil?
How'd you meet this guy?
I was there with Roads and Kingdoms in 2012, and had kind of, actually, I went online, and I clicked, and I clicked, and I clicked, and I clicked, and the sky opened up, and I got a reservation the old-fashioned way. And I went there kind of thinking, like, what's all this talk about this guy who forages, and, you know, I don't know, a little bit of a kind of an expectation there, and I was blown away. It was one of the meals of my life. It still stands up as one of the great meals of my life.
Who's been to Noma? Oh, that's why you're up front.
And so we've known each other ever since. You know, I wrote about Noma back there in 2012, and kind of been coming in and out of the restaurant for years. And then in 2019, René called up, and you know, Bourdain had passed the year before, and he just said, "Look, I think I'm ready to do something in the television world. I'm kind of thinking about planet Earth and something big, the scope and the scale. What do you think?" And you know, one of the first questions was, "Are we following you? Are you going to be in front of the camera?" And he was like, "No, I don't think so. This isn't my story, right? This is our story, the big capital O, our story, and we want to find a way to tell that feels new." And I thought, this is the best possible way forward, because I think, you know, what Bourdain did and what Tony did was, of course, crack open a certain part of the food lexicon to show us that food is culture and geopolitics and economics, and you have those incredible discussions that he really helped put on a certain cultural map for us. And it felt like René brought this extra layer, which is the direct connection to the natural world. That everything that we eat is just an expression of weather and landscape and the shifting tides. And how do we bring all of that together to answer one of the biggest questions, which is, who are we? How do we become this way? Where are we going from here? You know, and ultimately the show is trying to grapple with those questions. It's not answering them, I don't think. You know, I think, you know, what always compelled me so much about René was just his fierce curiosity. I mean, the first few times I met René, I don't think I got a single question into him, because he's asking you the questions and listening and asking and poking and prodding, and that's kind of what the energy that he brings to the show is. Yeah. Asking big questions, looking around for answers, trying to give people the context to form their own conclusions, because the version of this show where we spoon-feed you answers, right, where we say, hey, eat this, not that. Do this thing and not that. You lose everybody right away. And all you're left with is this audience right here who you already kind of have on your side to begin with. And what we want is a big tent full of people. And ultimately, revelation comes best and it sticks longest when you come to it on your own. And so René is not a host, he's a guide. Right. And he's guiding us on this journey. And every once in a while, he pops on screen. I mean, this episode is the most that you'll see of him in the series. There's other episodes you won't see him at all, but like every once in a while, he'll come back in and remind you where you are, or synthesize a certain moment, or just leave a question hanging out there for you to think about. And I think that's the power of what he has always been in the food world, and I think hopefully it's the power of Omnivore.
Mm. We also have to say, honestly, Apple TV Plus, that they actually dared to do this, because usually food shows, they are actual celebrity driven and not like, I mean, I might be well known in the restaurant trade, but it was a daring move, and they did it. And we're so proud of it.
You should be.
Yeah.
Thank you both. I'm supposed to take questions that have been written by the audience. Is that right?
Yeah.
Are there cards? Oh, here they are. Wow, I feel like a game show host. Mark asks, can food bring about world peace? If so, how?
Whoa.
Easy one.
World peace. That's on you.
He just threw you under the bus.
It starts with a meal. Let's say
It starts
that.
with the meal. I think that's right. I think it's a gateway drug that can open up more corridors and understanding, and can become a conversation. A conversation could be a pact, and a pact could be a movement, and a movement could be tremendous change. That's how it starts, right? And I think, if you go back and you watch some of those great Parts Unknown episodes where he goes to Israel and Palestine, he's discovering more in 42 minutes or 44 minutes there than the history books and the great sort of, journalist outlets. You're finding in these meals some grain of shared identity. And from there you can build.
You can't kill each other if you're eating together.
That's right.
That's one thing that I've found.
Depends on what you serve.
If you gave everybody that roast chicken, yeah, it helps if it's good.
Yeah.
Then you're already happy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. This is from Nikki Aurora. Question: in filming this, what's something you've learned and brought back or incorporated into the approach or experience at Noma this year? P.S. I'm flying to Copenhagen to fulfill a lifelong dream of eating at your restaurant next Wednesday.
Super.
You're going to see Nikki at your restaurant. That's nice.
Yeah.
So what did you get any
Yeah, there's
inspiration that you brought back?
Plenty of things. I think the biggest thing I got back is, as we're planning for what we call Noma 3.0,
Yeah.
where we will close down as a 12-month operation and rather focus our energy, our team, our network, our 21 years of working for bigger projects, and our restaurant will only be open sporadically, like a pop-up, even in our home base in Copenhagen.
So you'll be creating recipes during the downtime or doing other things?
During the downtime, we'll be innovating. We'll be working on large-scale projects, and one of them crystallized as we're working on Omnivore, because as we're working on, let's say, rice, and rice is so dependent on monsoon. The monsoon is so angry, temperamental, let's call it that, more and more so. It's not impossible to think of a not too distant future from now where we'll have
Much less rice.
much less rice. So what do we eat? And one of these projects that we have envisioned from this is, we call it right now the future staples. So we have 4 products. We have mushrooms for the gentleman in the back. We have seaweeds, then we have legumes, and then we have bugs. And so that's a project that we will tackle. And our superpower is flavor. And we're supposed to make this taste incredible so that you actually want to eat it. And not, sometimes when we adapt change in food, people tell you, eat this, but it's not very good. And so therefore nobody ever eats it.
Listen.
Spinach has to be as tasty as steak.
Exactly like show business.
Yeah, so that's a project we will attack when we do the shift.
Great.
And then once the body of work is ready, we need someone to test it on, and then we open up.
I'll be there. To see Ivar, a beloved ingredient in my Albanian household.
Ivar.
Say it again.
Ivar?
Ivar?
Yeah.
A-J-V-A-R.
Yeah, Ivar.
Thank you. To see that beloved ingredient in my Albanian household on the big screen was powerful. Thank you. What are your wildest hopes for this project? What are you imagining? Asks Colette.
First of all, Ivar is a condiment. It is totally unknown to the world. It is unbelievably delicious.
What is it?
It's like a vegetable pepper paste.
Okay.
Some is chunky, some not so chunky, some are very spicy, some mildly spicy, some very sweet. And you have it for just about anything.
Yeah.
It's all over the Balkans.
Yeah.
And it is incredible.
Great.
But what are our hopes? I mean, mildly, humbly, we'd like that perhaps a handful of people watch the show and they are inspired to look at their cup of coffee after they've seen the coffee episode and realize there's a reason why there's specialty coffee, and that actually matters. That food is really the most important thing. And if we can start valuing food a little more, perhaps we take care of it a little better. And if we do that, the thing is, if we do that, we take care of the whole thing, like everything, the world.
Right.
Taking care of yourself through good food is equal to taking care of the planet. It's simple.
Great.
And that's what we want to inspire people to think about.
Yep. What are the forces changing food culture today you're most excited of and also most afraid of? Kasparas asks this.
Well, I see it in the corn episode,
Yeah.
the industrialization.
Yeah, in the whole series, we're not kind of force feeding you with here are the enemies
Right.
and so on and so forth. It's in there, but it is.
But you also say that it can be the industrialization can be used for good
smartly.
as well,
Of course, it can.
and it can help your family in Mexico.
Sure. Yeah, if you can marry the best of both worlds.
Yes.
But there are some big industry players in the world of food that's really troubling. Like, they're dangerous.
Right.
And that's not particularly, that can take the hope away when you think about those bastards.
You're talking about food now? What makes you excited about food today? Asked Josh.
I love food, so for me, I'm really, really always excited about food. I'm very excited about what's going on. What's exciting now is that in food, everyone's trying to plan for a better industry.
Yeah.
Everyone's working to figure out how are we going to figure out, and this is in all levels of the industry. How are we going to work? How are we going to create places where people can truly thrive for a lifetime? And that question is being asked all around the world. Nobody has clear answers yet because it's tough, but that's inspiring. And that gives me a lot of hope. I think the restaurant trade, if we solve this one and figure this one out, so much creativity will be unleashed into the world
Yeah.
by a group of people who are going to do whatever it takes.
Do you work in any kind of hybrid stuff the way Dan Barber does? We were talking about the habanada pepper and how he took, I think, the Scotch bonnet pepper and took out
The heat.
and
Yeah.
left the flavor of the pepper.
Yeah.
And that's
It's funny
yeah.
and tasty.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Do you do anything like that at Noma?
No,
With
we haven't done it yet, but
Yeah.
I haven't actually thought of it.
You're welcome. Ansel asks, do you have any interest in ancient recipes? If so, how have they influenced you? Oh, I like that question.
Yeah. I mean, of course, they influenced greatly when we were studying for Noma back in the early days. Now we're about to go to Kyoto
the best.
and do a pop-up there. I'm actually moving there on the 25th of this month for 6 months.
Your second pop-up.
My second pop-up in Kyoto.
I was at the first pop-up.
Yeah,
It was pretty awesome.
yeah, it's an incredible place to be, like life-changing to be there. And
But see, I felt that when I came to Copenhagen, and you feel that about Kyoto.
I love also Copenhagen, but
Yes.
sometimes you need to change.
Yes.
If you don't constantly fill yourself with fresh information, new input, meeting new people, hearing other approaches, somebody that tells you this is not the right way you're doing it, how will you ever learn? You sort of slowly burn out. So you need this.
But
in
this
my
is the
opinion.
fira time you've gone back to a place that you did
Yeah.
a pop-up.
Yeah.
Because it's that special to you.
It's mind-blowingly special. And not just to me, it was our entire team. I mean, we were 110 last time. This time we're more because actually one of the reasons why we're more is because more of our staff have had children. There's 5 kids that's happened in the last 12 months.
And you were there 7 months.
Yeah, last time.
And you didn't have enough.
Didn't have enough. But so when we first went there, of course you study, I mean, we went there because Kyoto is the birthplace of what's called kaiseki cuisine. For those of you who haven't heard about kaiseki, kaiseki is a sort of a tasting menu format of, Oh no, not for me. It's like the tasting menu format of Japanese food. It's the highest expression, some people say, of Japanese food culture. And it's ancient, of course, it's hundreds of years old. But what comes before that is tea ceremony. And what comes before tea ceremony is Zen Buddhism. So that was a part of our studies.
Yeah.
And you dive into those recipes from the early days, and you let yourself be influenced and inspired by that. I went actually on a Zen Buddhist walk. Not a Zen Buddhist, a Buddhist walk. It wasn't Zen Buddhism, a Buddhist walk, 1,200 kilometers around the island of Shikoku. It took me 5 weeks as a part of the preparation for this pop-up.
Were you alone?
No, I was with Thomas, the German triathlete, the puppy. He was part of it, then I was alone, then another person came from the test kitchen. And then we just went from temple to temple and stayed in people's home, and
Wow.
it was fantastic.
I'll bet.
Hiking is besides my family and my work, hiking is my main passion.
Great. Oh, this is a question for me. Phil, what
I
makes
ask
you...
it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Phil, what makes you the most happy when sharing food with others? Thanks from Steve and Carolyn. P.S. Boosh, goosh, haha. I don't know what that means,
I'll tell
but
you.
you do.
The one time I got food poisoning in all my travels around the world was in San Francisco. And I actually coined a condition that's in the Harvard Journal of Medicine for what happened to me, bush goosh.
I've had it too. Multiple times.
Yes. Not fun. But what makes me the most happy when sharing food with others, I always say food is the great connector, and then laughs are the cement. So we can share a meal, we don't want to kill each other, right? And if the food is good, now we're smiling a little bit. And if we can share a laugh, now we're friends and maybe we'll eat again. And that's my favorite thing. Yes. All right, this is the last question, and then people, you got to go to bed. Zach Cooper says, to me, the ability that a single ingredient could be given to 1,000 people, yet always taste different is inspiring. So what inspires you to keep creating? I think I have a problem with this premise. Can a single ingredient be given to 1,000 people and always taste different? I think there's a commonality, isn't there? Isn't there a shared experience?
Sure, but everyone sees things slightly different.
Yeah,
It's
but...
ever so slightly, but usually it's pretty similar.
Yeah, like we all we get ice cream,
Yeah.
right?
Corn on the cob.
Yeah. It's if you were to describe it, I would bet a lot of people would describe it the same way.
Yeah.
But that's all right. We don't feel bad, Zach. What inspires you to keep creating? Because you've created a lot. Every time, what is it, 3 times a year,
Yeah.
brand new menus.
Yeah.
You're not crazy like the guy on the bear, but that's still
Does
a
he
lot.
do that 3 times in the bear?
He
I haven't watched
You
it
didn't
fully.
watch this season? You're in it, man.
Yeah. do I have to watch it then?
No, the whole thing this season is everyone's mad at him because he wants to change the menu every night.
Ah, yeah.
which I don't really believe. Do you? That doesn't happen, does it, in the real world?
Yeah, it used to be more common actually.
Every night, every dish?
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was not necessarily always all complete changes.
So we have halibut, this sauce is going to go on.
Yeah, and then you have sort of your favorite things.
Yes.
And then suddenly, okay, halibut is not here, but let's put lobster, and it's the same sauce and kind of set up. That it used to be more common to do that.
But what you're doing is wholesale, giant.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's fantastic. I mean, once you learn to enjoy the fact that creativity means fun, but also can you be in the pain of it, that the fact that most things don't work out.
The trick is not to serve those.
Then it is simply the most fantastic thing to have an idea and see it work out and people are happy. It is really, really, really fantastic. And also you get to travel, you get to explore the world, you get to read books, to be inspired yourself. Actually, that's one of the reasons why we're planning for Noma 3.0. We want to be more creative. We want to work more on creativity. We want to use our brain more, not just be in production all the time.
Right.
It really is the most fun thing for me.
You're an artist.
I don't know about that.
I do.
But I like what I do. Yeah. And I want to do more of it. And I want to do more of the things that I really, 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 really like the most, which is figure new things out.
Great. That's the show, ladies and gentlemen. René Redzepi, Matt Golding, thank you. Thank you, my friend. Awesome.